You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Thad, and joining me is my co-host, Chrissie. How are you today?
I'm not bad. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of interesting, strange new worlds I'm going to be discovering on this trip that I'm going on. But I'm looking forward to it.
Trek through the stars?
It is a trek through the stars, indeed. And how are you today, Thad?
I'm pretty good. Just dealing with some of the pain that I'm getting in my ears from gene therapy not working. But other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah, be careful about that. I find it's very painful. I sympathize.
Also joined with us today, again, is Alex Perry from Weekly Trek. Welcome to Infinite Diversity.
It's such a pleasure to be here, guys. I have the strangest feeling of deja vu, like we just did.
About an hour and a half ago.
Before we jump into our topic for today, we'd like to take a moment to thank listeners like you who support us with a subscription at patreon.com/BQN. Alright, so, we've been waiting for this ever since Season 2 of Discovery first came out.
Yeah.
We've all been excited, we've all wanted a Captain Pike show, and we have it. It took Paramount way too long to finally agree to make this show that apparently they didn't think we would want for some reason. This is truly the show that the fans made happen. It's here, it's fantastic, and we're here to talk about it. Alex, what was your initial thought when watching the first episode of Strange New Worlds?
I mean, I loved it, right? Let's get the disclaimer out of the way, right? As everybody on Twitter has been making sure that this disclaimer is added to any discussion of Strange New Worlds, so we'll acknowledge it up front. Strange New Worlds is the product of all of the modern Star Trek that has come up to this point. Thank you, Star Trek Discovery. Thank you, Star Trek Picard. Thank you, Star Trek Lower Decks. Thank you, Star Trek Prodigy, for everything you did to pave the way for the creation of this show, right? And what we're about to say, which will be very positive about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, is not a knock on any of the other shows. It's not a criticism. We love all of them. But Strange New Worlds is great, right? Like, it's great. I mean, and there's, like, the show just works in this really fundamental way. The characters are well-defined right out of the gate. The stories, as much as, you know, Star Trek has sort of had a really kind of interesting experience with exploring serialized television, it is really nice to have an episodic Star Trek again, right? Strange New Worlds is an episode that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It is a complete story, all in one. And there's just something about that it's so comforting to return to. I love the experiments into serialization. We have nearly 900 episodes of Star Trek. There's no reason for every single one of them to be episodic, but we've not had episodic Star Trek since 2005. That was nearly, 20 years ago at this point. It's okay for us to have one show back that's going to give us, now we know 20 episodes that does it this way. It's sleek, it's sexy, it's funny, it's a little goofy in places. It's exactly what you would want from a TOS precursor show that kind of pulls in the best of TOS, but in a very modern way and with a modern aesthetic that still really strongly honors what came before, right? These are not recreations of the TOS sets, but what they are very faithful modern interpretations of them. And honestly, this is the one thing I will say about kind of decisions that have been made up until this point. If Discovery had used the same aesthetic that Strange New Worlds has used, I think it would have been more favorably received by the fandom at the outset. It's taken them a while to learn, right? Brian Fuller wanted to go really far in a certain direction. It was probably too far. It's taken them a while to kind of figure out, like, okay, how do we do modern interpretations of this stuff and get to a point where, everybody's kind of happy? And I think we've now found that balance, and I'm really, really thrilled and pleased with where we are.
Yeah.
I could not say that better. Chrissy, what do you think?
Yeah, all of that. I'm going to include a thank you and appreciation to the Kelvin Timeline movies as well, because that really is what got us modern Trek. And that's the beginning of modern Trek and all of that. And I know you weren't diminishing them by not bringing them up. They're easy to forget sometimes.
Alice was
Thank you for adding
saying that he hates the Kelvin movies.
Oh,
and
okay.
you should send him all sorts of hate mail for it.
So yeah, it's wonderful. It is, let's say it's Trek coming back to its roots, because that does not diminish any of the other, and you can have the wonderfulness that is something like Lower Decks that I can't imagine what Gene Roddenberry would think of Lower Decks. I mean, it's just, at the same time, you have the fulfillment of what he originally wanted to do, and it's just, it's beautiful. And, one of the things I wrote down was about how the modern Enterprise and the modern aesthetic to this does not make it so that you have to sit there and go, okay, this is how it had to change because this is how it looked 10 years later. It works. It all works, and it's just wonderful. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think because there is always discourse on the internet, and there are plenty of reviews out there saying, Star Trek is finally good again. And it's like, get over yourself. But
Right.
Star Trek, especially now with these 5 shows in active production that we have, which just, yay. It's a smorgasbord. None of the shows are the same. They're all different. They all do different things. And that doesn't mean that any of them are bad. None of them are bad. All of them are great in their own way. But it is just this particular niche that Strange New Worlds is filling is something that has not had something to fill it in quite a long time.
Yeah.
And, oh boy, is it great to get something in that niche.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And have it really well done, right? It's not just that it's episodic. It's that it's good episodic, right? Like, that's so important to its success.
Yeah, it's so good. So, Alex and I had the great fortune of being at the premiere in New York last weekend, and
scoff. No,
yeah.
No, I know that's great.
And watching that in the theater filled with other Trekkies, and having everyone cheering and laughing and clapping throughout the whole thing, it's just this is exactly the show that we need, that we want, and that will give us the wonderful joy and experience of being Star Trek fans, and give us everything that we have desperately wanted out of everything, out of Star Trek.
Yeah.
This is Star Trek. This is Star Trek to its core. It is fantastic. We could end the podcast right now and just say it's really good.
We could just end the podcast by saying, "What are you doing listening to this when you could be rewatching
There you go.
Strange New Worlds' pilot right now?"
Having said that,
obviously, I hated it, as you can tell. But yeah, no, it's so good. I can't wait until next week. Well, I mean, I can, because at that premiere I already saw next week's episode. But beyond that, I love this show. So, without further ado, since we've already been talking about Star Trek for like 2 hours now, let's get right into this episode. So, one thing that I found interesting, I do like the opening where we have the first opening where we have the monologue from number 1, and we see the the ship and this planet. They're like, what is that? And then we cut to Montana. Again, why is it always Montana?
Gotta get away from tech. You know, middle of nowhere.
I find it interesting. The text that tells us we're in Montana is Bear Creek, Montana. But then in the next section, when we cut to Vulcan, where Spock is, it says Vulcan, Raal. And you'd think they'd be consistent with that, but
I mean, Thad, if that's the worst thing you have to
honestly,
say about this
that is my biggest nit to pick about this episode, is the inconsistent descriptions of the locations.
Oh, I can fix that for you. Bear Creek goes through more than Montana. So he's on Bear Creek, but it's the part that's in Montana.
Okay.
As opposed to the part that's in Wyoming or Idaho or something. I don't even know if it's a real place, but I was just, trying to make you feel better.
Okay. So, Ansabald is making breakfast. I'm sorry. Captain Pike is making breakfast.
Well, they both are.
And he's watching The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is some excellent foreshadowing for what's happening in this episode, but also an interesting thing if you think about this for a second. The Day the Earth Stood Still was directed by Robert Wise, who famously also directed Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Didn't know that.
So,
that's awesome.
If Robert Wise exists in the Star Trek universe, and he has to, if Pike is watching The Day the Earth Stood Still, does that mean Star Trek also exists in the Star Trek universe?
Yes.
Okay.
Since we're talking about Pike, let's lay up. So there's one big criticism about this episode, and
you mean something worse than
right
the location descriptions?
Yes.
I'm not sure if that's possible.
Which is this whole theme of like disability standing.
Okay.
For death,
Yes, you're right. That is
like,
worse.
Yeah, like, and it's episode 1, right? Clearly, this is going to be a thematic kind of through line for the Pike character, and hopefully, him sort of coming to terms with his accident and the disability that follows not being the end of his life, but being the start of a different life, will be something that he will get to by the end of the series. But it is not great the way that it's being presented right now as like, him sort of conceiving of a point within the next decade at which he will effectively die, even though he will not be dead. And there's lots of great places they can build from here around that's the wrong attitude to have and he will get to the right attitude. But right now we're just being presented with the wrong attitude. And so that's the one thing where like a lot of people who are experiencing discomfort about that, I think that is, not misplaced. And is incredibly valid, and I think the only thing I can kind of think about that is, well, let's see where the season goes in terms of how that ultimately develops. Does it stay in a not great place, or does it grow into something, better? But really, like, that's my biggest quibble with Strange New Worlds as it stands right now, and it's not a huge one.
I don't think that's unreasonable for him at this point, and I don't think they're trying to put across that message by any means. And I think all you have to do is look at ethics, to know that with Worf's injury. But I can understand why people would be troubled by it. But I don't think it would make sense for him to go, oh, well, I know I'm going to be terribly burned and in a wheelchair and completely uncommunicative within some time within the next decade, and I'm fine with that. No matter how understanding you are of the fact that one can still function having a disability, getting that kind of news is going to cause... He's grieving. He's grieving for what his life... what he knows his life is going to be and for what he's going to lose. And he does lose something. I mean, it's not... We can't say that he doesn't. And I think even those who are dealing with disabilities would not disagree with that. You lose and you gain elsewhere. And what did he say? It's the difference between living and surviving. you know? And I think the message
sure.
of this is going
Yeah.
to be that you go on living. So I think if they do the arc correctly, like you're saying, and I can't imagine they wouldn't, then this is going to be a very good way of showing how to deal with these things. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what they're setting this up to be, the arc of Pike accepting and coming to terms with this and realizing that it is not the end. But yeah, it is. It does feel a little ableist that he's basically saying, like, the death of who I am. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. But yeah.
Right.
That I agree. That is probably my only legitimate complaint about this episode.
let's get into the illegitimate ones now. Okay.
I do have a couple more of those because I'm me. But like I have some This is going to be one of the most Thad sounding sentences ever. I have some real complaints, or at least confusions about uniforms that'll come up in a little bit. But
Okay, all right, let's get into it.
but yeah, we start out with this scene where we find out that Pike is still on extended leave while the Enterprise is being repaired, and he hasn't officially decided if he's even going back when it gets finished repairing. I mean, this all makes sense, especially given everything that he saw. And I do enjoy the scene. I like how he's sort of making light of his own sort of thing. Like when Captain Batel asks him if he's going to answer his communicator, he just sort of shrugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But really, I mean, that's just Anson Mount's really good at, like, acting. And we're gonna get... But beyond all of this, we're gonna get another person that has made certain people on the internet angry in the past week, which we talked a little bit about last week because with the casting announcement. But we get Admiral Robert April,
The first captain of the USS Enterprise.
and we find out that Pike was his first officer, which I do not believe we knew before, not
No.
officially anyway.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I know there was a novel that I read a long time ago about April. I can't remember if Pike was in that one or not.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, April's British in the novel.
Yes, he wears a sweater over his uniform.
Yes, and his wife is the CMO. Yes.
I think that came from TAS, though, didn't it? I might be wrong on that.
It came from... I think they took inspiration from Jimmy Doohan's, like, strange accent that it's not quite an English accent, but it's also not quite...
Oh, I meant the sweater, but yeah.
No, does he wear a sweater in TAS? I thought he's just wearing the dress uniform.
My first exposure to TAS was reading the novelizations, so sometimes I got information from that in my head.
Oh, I bet those are wild.
Yeah.
I'll just say, I'm
yeah.
totally fine with it. I have absolutely no problems with it. Like, you know, I mean, TAS is my least favorite of the Star Trek
dare
shows.
you.
I am very pleased for animated series fans that so much of the animated series has been referenced in other Star Treks, but I'm perfectly fine with them, you know, kind of choosing to not do things
And
from the animated
honestly,
series or do things in a slightly different way.
Robert April, the existence of Robert April at all, even if he doesn't look and sound like he did on TAS, is a TAS reference.
Yeah.
Because TAS is the only other place that Robert April on screen is mentioned.
No, he's mentioned on screen in Discovery, because he shows up on the screen when Saru's looking
Okay,
at
but that also comes from TAS.
No, I agree. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay, I'm following. You're right, yes.
Yeah. And he's not a very interesting character.
No.
TAS, right? Like, you know,
his defining
it's a lame
characteristic
episode,
in that
it's a lame
TAS episode is
story.
that he's old.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that he has a strange accent, and that's it, right? Like that's all we know about Robert April from that episode. No, I'm perfectly fine with them reinterpreting the role for live action. I think it's really cool that the first captain of the Federation Starship Enterprise is this Robert April, and that it makes a lot of people mad, and that makes me happy. So
Star Trek pissing off the right people since 1966.
Yeah, right. It's just one of those things where it's like, guys, it's a TV show, right? It's a story. It's fine. He's still the first captain of the Enterprise. His name is still Robert April. What the hell does it matter? Ultimately, it's not like he's that important of a character in his previous appearances.
I've even seen some people complaining that he's an admiral now when he was established as a commodore in TAS, and therefore, yeah,
because he couldn't have gotten.
Yeah, nobody cares, guys. Nobody cares. Yeah.
My favorite response to that, and I think it was someone I retweeted, was saying, of course he was the wrong color in TAS. We're lucky he wasn't fuchsia.
Oh, yes!
Yeah,
I love
saw that too. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, if the Tribbles are pink in TAS...
And the Klingons were purple?
Then Robert April can be the wrong
And Scotty has a
TAS
disappearing, reappearing mustache. I mean, there are so many...
Yeah.
visual issues with TAS that, yeah. Alright. So, after that, we get the wonderful theme, which is just so good.
Yeah.
And we are now in Vulcan, Raw, which is... I'm sorry, it just bugs me.
Alright.
Another thing that has caused some people on the internet to be mad. We have Spock and T'Pring. So, first off, let's just nip this in the bud right now. Vulcans are required to have sex every 7 years. That does not mean they don't have sex in between. In fact...
Because then if they did, every Vulcan, Vulcans would exist in 7 year increments, right? You would have 7-year-old Vulcans, and 14-year-old Vulcans, and 21-year-old Vulcans, and 28-year-old
one assumes
Vulcans.
that not all of Vulcan
they
goes
don't all go into Ponfar at the same time. Well, no, but they would have to, wouldn't they? Because it's every 7 years. So, how would they get out of sync in the first place?
Yeah.
But beyond that, we have seen... It's not like this is the first time we've seen Vulcans having sex.
Yeah.
Enterprise, Trip and T'Pol are making the beast with two backs, throughout all of season 3 and 4.
I haven't heard that phrase in years.
Yes.
And it's clear that, they can... Vulcans can bang whenever they want to bang. They don't have to be experiencing Ponfar. Ponfar just means that they have to bang.
And that goes all the way back to Amok Time. I mean, not in terms of it being in the episode, but there's an interview with Dorothy Fontana in which she talked about how there was a conversation, in the production office about, are we saying that Vulcans only have sex every 7 years? And the discussion in the production office was, no, we're saying that they have to have it every 7 years, but that does not mean that that's the only clock on which they do that kind of thing. So, this has not been an issue since 1967. It's just people choosing to make it an issue.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this whole scene is the scandalized Vulcan who tells them to get a room because they're kissing.
Yes. It's funny. It's a funny line that's entirely based on an authentic character portrayal of a race we fully understand, right? It's very authentically Vulcan while also being really humorous. It's you have to get Star Trek and you have to get comedy in order to be able to do that, and whoever wrote that line did both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I laughed very hard when I saw that line. That was excellent. Because we are always setting up foreshadowing for what will happen in Amok Time, because T'Pring says that she will not chase him around the galaxy to get married, and
yeah. And like the other thing too is like, well, they're sort of establishing more of a relationship between Spock and T'Pring than Amok Time implied, right? Amok Time implied that they, from using the childhood picture of T'Pring, that Spock had not seen her since she was a little girl. And like, okay, yeah, that's definitely a bit of a reinterpretation of that. But honestly, it's one that makes Amok Time much better, because if the way the episode's presented right now, where they've not seen each other since they were children, she comes off as the evil one, right? Like, because she's judged him and found him wanting without ever having talked to him. Whereas the relationship that we're seeing here now in Strange New Worlds, where they want to be together, right? They are actively with each other, and the relationship is going to fall apart and crumble because they both want very different things out of their lives. That then makes the emotional stakes of Amok Time when you get there so much higher, right? Because it's based off of an actual relationship between those two people that went bad, rather than a presumed relationship that never got off the ground and she decided she didn't want. And like, that's good. That's good drama, right? That's adding to what we already know and understand in a way that is authentic and makes sense, and like heightens our appreciation for a already incredible episode of Star Trek in the process.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes from her just deciding doesn't want him anymore from an arranged marriage standpoint, which also plays into that, to she's functionally cheating on him, or planning to.
And maybe it's his fault, right? Like, even in this episode, He tells Pike he's coming back to the Enterprise and she'll be fine with it. And she's like, you should have asked me if I was fine with it. And she has a point. Yeah. He should have asked, right? Like, he presumed, like, I think this is going to be a relationship in which both of them make mistakes and it doesn't, that it doesn't end up working out, rather than her being the kind of, quiet, evil woman who, spurns Spock in favor of her, favored Vulcan lover, right? Like, no, it might be the case that actually he just couldn't make it work, wasn't very good at it, and she rightfully was like, well, then I don't want anything more to do with you because, you've made this miserable for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gives us a deep backstory to this whole thing, and I think it worked well. I mean, this entire show is going to be filled with things that are setting up future things. That's just the nature of a prequel. And
sure.
Yes, Discovery did before it. Yes. And I think they're very aware of that, and they are leaning into that, as we are seeing here in this first episode, and I think they are doing a fantastic job with it. I mean, I am getting Enterprise Season 4 vibes from this show, honestly. Because we're getting things that tie into TOS, which Enterprise Season 4 did a lot. And, I think it works well.
Before we step away from that, I loved that it was T'Pring's place to make the proposal. I know that was intended to be just a turning the tradition on its head, but I love that. And I really appreciated that they brought back the necklace from the Kelvin timeline. But just flipped.
You gave your girlfriend a tracking device?
Yes, you gave your girlfriend a tracking device. But still, I love that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes, that was a nice touch.
Also, makes Amok Time all the more interesting, given that she was the one who pushed the relationship to that level.
Yes.
Yeah, I just thought of that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's very clear that she does love him and she wants to be with him, but I think it's also clear that he's not gonna be there for her because he's gonna be off exploring strange new worlds.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And now we get our first look at the Enterprise. And in a scene somewhat reminiscent of the motion picture, we're getting all sorts of motion picture references this week. A slightly shorter scene than we get in the motion picture.
But a couple of identical shots.
I find it interesting that apparently it's being worked on in a space dock that's far enough out that they need to fly a shuttle next to it to beam him on board. I found that interesting. You'd think they would have, like, I don't know, like a transport repeater or something on the moon to, like...
I don't know, man. You don't want a what we got back didn't live long situation.
I suppose that's true.
Also, maybe he wanted to see Maybe he wanted to just.
He
see
may
what it
have
looked
also
like.
wanted to see the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Because,
there's damage to be repaired. Needs a new coat of paint, like Archer was saying. Yeah.
So I haven't actually seen anyone on the internet complaining about Transporter Chief Kyle, which surprises me a little. I would have expected people on the internet to complain about that.
Yeah.
But
It's a common name, you know? It doesn't need to be the same guy.
I mean, it's
If you want it to be the same guy, it can be the same
clearly
guy.
supposed
If
to
you
be
don't
the
want it to be the
same
same
Yeah,
guy...
I think so. But that's fine.
if they didn't want it to be that guy, they would have given him a different name. Like, it is
Correct.
way
But-
too...
But if it's something that you have a problem
Gotcha.
with, right, like, it's much easier to explain away in your head that there just happened to have been 2 Transporter Chief Kyles than there were 2 Robert Aprils who were the first captain of the Starship
Okay,
Enterprise.
that's probably true, yeah. Well, they don't actually say that this Robert April was the first captain of the Starship Enterprise.
They don't, but Henry Alonso Myers said it in an interview.
So probably in a later episode we hear that. Kyle's a pretty common first name, too. They could just be very informal with this guy.
That's also possible, but again,
Yeah.
I think it's a guy at the transporter controls named Kyle, which we see in TOS. So, like, yeah, that it's a reach to say it's not supposed to be the same guy.
Yeah.
And he's in... We have yet another uniform. I guess this is, like, the Strange New Worlds version of, like, the technician jumpsuit that we saw in TOS.
Yeah. Or the...
Yes. Which I love. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
like
great.
it.
I
I
love
like
the
it a lot.
costumes.
Me
Yeah.
too. It could be the equivalent of the DS9 jumpsuit uniform, too. You know, like O'Brien
Right.
with his sleeves rolled up.
yeah.
Right, and I'm just thinking, on TOS we saw a lot of, mostly engineering, but we saw them in all the colors, I believe. Like, technicians and stuff just wearing, like jumpsuits, or, I think the British term is boiler suit, which I've always found amusing.
There's a reason I don't live there.
And it's a boiler suit?
Do they for...
It's because of dumb words like that.
I don't know, I kind of like the name.
Pronouncing
boiler
herb with an H? Yeah.
Oh, well, you can pry my H from herb from my cold dead hands.
suit. But yes, no, I like the uniform. This is not one of the uniforms that I am confused by. That's coming in a bit.
All right.
In fact, we're going to get that very soon. We're now going to get the scene that those of us who were in Chicago had the advantage to see ahead of time. And also, if you look closely, someone else pointed this out on Twitter. I didn't notice, but if you look closely in the pattern on the wall in the back of the turbolift, there are deltas hidden in it because Starfleet puts deltas everywhere.
Love it.
Yeah. It's part of the Federation Charter, Thad. Didn't you read Article 17, subparagraph 3, Section A?
I mean, I'm fine with it. It's fine. I don't mind the deltas everywhere. I just find it amusing.
Branding. They kind of
Yes.
branding.
So Pike is clearly concerned that Spock is going to feel miffed about being passed over as acting number 1, but Spock has no ego to bruise, so he's fine.
Yep.
And now we are on the bridge, and we meet La'an Noonien Singh.
Mm-hmm.
I love this character. I am still really interested to see what happens vis-a-vis her apparent ancestry. But I love what we have seen of this character in this episode. I think she is fantastic. What do you guys think?
Yeah, she's great. 100%. I'm really excited to see a lot more of the character.
Yeah. Like I said, there is that mystery about her. But the idea that she was the last survivor of a Gorn... I didn't know what to call it, so I called it an abattoir in the notes, you know?
Yeah, I laughed at that. Speaking of British words.
But it seems like that's what it was. I mean, I guess you could call it a butcher... but it's not really a butcher shop. It's a... Yeah. So that is going to be one hell of a story, and that gives some context to the Gorn and dealing with them in the TOS episode is a little different, with the idea that they're not just fighting each other, they're going to eat you. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also just love how subversive it is that they name the character La'an Noonien Singh, and then the Noonien Singh connection is not the, like, big thing out of the gate that is the sort of character's secret, right? It's something completely different from that. And they don't even kind of wink at the Khan stuff in this episode. It's just all focused on this history with the Gorn, and it just happens to be her last name type thing. Who knows if that will change? I'm not saying that I know whether it changes or not from the next few episodes, but it's like, I mean, there's a really layered and complex backstory there, which is super interesting.
Yeah, and I'm glad for that, because I was concerned the character was just going to be like, oh, look, here's a descendant of somebody from Khan's family.
Yeah.
All right, and also on the bridge is our helm officer, Lieutenant Ortegas, who character I also really enjoy. And then, interestingly, the other station in front of the captain's chair is referred to as Ops, which is interesting because that's more of a TNG era thing than in TOS. It was helm and navigation. Also, I briefly was very confused about the fact that they both wore Operations Red, because helm officers on Star Trek traditionally wear command.
Yep.
But if we go all the way back to the Cage and Where No Man Has Gone Before, the helm officers did wear, well, what was Operations Beige at the time. So it is actually... It changed sometime between Where No Man Has Gone Before and the Corbomite maneuver. It changed so that the helm officers wear command colors, but at this time they wear operations colors. So that I'm okay with. This is not, but it is a bit of a confusing uniform thing. But yeah, sorry, I said I was going to talk about
Still not your issue.
It's not my biggest issue. No.
Well,
I said I was going to talk about uniforms, and I have to. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's one of your areas of expertise, so I would want to hear that. The only thing I'll say to that is that we know that anybody who wants to take on rotations like that and have bridge shifts and do the command track, irrelevant of what color they're wearing, is going to go through that process. So, so we can, like Beverly Crusher in Command. I'm not terribly concerned about the color of the uniform, unless we're saying consistently that this person's only in Command and they're wearing the wrong color. But for all we know, these are botanists who are taking a turn at Command. Like Sulu.
No,
Come to think of it, yeah.
I'm not overly concerned. It's more that starting with the non-pilot episodes of TOS and going all the way through Enterprise.
Yeah.
Star Trek has shown the helm officer wearing whatever color the command division in that era uses.
Yes.
Now, Discovery doesn't. Discovery uses the operations color, but if we think about it, that's because Discovery is from... Well, at least for the first 3 seasons, was from back when from the time period of the Cage and Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Yep.
Now, why they still wear operations in the 29th century, I don't know. And am I thinking way too hard about this? Absolutely. But
that's why we're here.
That's right. Also, I like seeing variety in uniforms, but I think because we do have number one who's going to wear yellow. We do also have another yellow officer on the bridge doing something. We're still going to see yellow uniforms. It's just, it seems like there's a lot of red.
Yeah.
But regardless, I also really enjoy the character of Lieutenant Ortegas. I think she's just a fun character in general from what we've seen so far.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Can't wait to see more.
And we get our first look at another red uniform wearer. We have Cadet Nyota Ohara.
Yay!
Yeah, and Celia does a great job with this role. And yeah, I mean, with all these characters, we sort of get, kind of short introductions to each of them in this episode, because they both have to introduce all of the characters, well, with the exception of Hemmer, because he didn't show up until the very end of the episode, and still also then tell the story of the episode they are trying to tell. So there's not a ton of Uhura stuff in this episode, but that
no, but the one scene we get with her is great. I love when she's
the trackball thing.
Yeah, where she's calming the alien down and letting them feel at ease. Oh, that was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. More than just a language savant. She's looking at the culture, too. And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So, we're heading off to investigate why number 1 disappeared on that first contact mission.
Kylie 279.
You'd think they'd give it a name. Like, I mean...
Kylie 279.
You know what I...
What do you all call yourselves? Kylians.
Yeah, why don't they ask the people of Kylie 279 what they call themselves? They don't call Trill, Omicron 420 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that, you'd think the people of Kylie 279 would have a name other than Kylie 279 for their planet.
Well, I mean, considering they weren't supposed to have the technology yet, maybe they hadn't thought that far.
I mean, we have a name for our planet.
No, I mean, like, in terms of...
Oh, I get you, okay. You mean they hadn't done enough research.
Outside species and cultures.
Gotcha, okay, I'm following you now. I thought you were saying that, like, because they haven't met any other people, they haven't named their own planet. I'm thinking, well, that's... Okay, I'm following now. I'm following you now. Okay.
Yeah, okay, good, because I thought I lost myself for a moment.
Alright. So we get to the planet. We get fired upon by plasma torpedoes. Apparently 21st century tech. I don't recall those being around yet, so I guess it must be a late 21st century tech.
We got 80 years yet.
Yeah. I've got a bit of an issue with the concept of, well, that's 21st century technology. They're still, 100 years away. Like, well, for one, we developed warp drive in the 21st century on Earth. Secondly, why on Earth would all planets develop different technologies at the same rate? Or in the same order?
Don't think of it from the year that he was using, but think of it from the example that I think Spot gives about how you can invent...
Yeah.
You can invent...
Nuclear bomb before particle physics, but no.
Thank you. There we
but,
go.
I mean, how could you invent a nuclear bomb before particle physics? I understand he said that line, but then I, thought about it, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, without particle physics, you wouldn't have the understanding that you would need to be able to make a nuclear bomb.
Well, you do it the way that they do it in this episode, right? Which is, you copy somebody else's, and you don't know what you have, and you don't understand why it works. You just know that it works because you copied it.
Okay.
And that's sort of what they're doing here, right? They copy a matter-antimatter reactor, which, they don't know how to use, so the only thing they can do with it is blow it up, which is why it's a bomb, right? And not something more sophisticated than that, because that's what you would, if you knew what you were making, that's what you would be coming up with.
All right, fair enough. So, they're going to have to go down to the planet, which means we are now going to meet our medical team. And here is where I have uniform questions.
It's going to be I knew it was going to be Chapel's. I knew it was going to be Chapel's.
It's Chapel's uniform.
It's a whole... It is the one, through line from the Discovery uniforms through to the new Strange New Worlds uniforms, right? If Chapel in that uniform if she was in the background on season 1 or 2 of Discovery, it would have totally blended in. I think it's very much designed to be we're phasing out this design, but there's still some kind of ways in which it shows up in Starfleet at the moment.
Okay. Yes, but beyond that, we have 3 different colors for Science Division officers now. In the same scene, we have 3 different colors of that Science Division officers are wearing. assuming that we consider medical part of science, which normally it has been. Because we got Mbenga in a pale blue, we've got Spock in a darker blue, and then we have Chapel in white.
Okay. Go back to, I think it's in Wrath of Khan. Okay, the different color collars. There's like 15 different color collars, or 10. Okay, and they are all variations, you know. So yeah, I would say that.
So the Mbenga one, the pale blue one, that's supposed to be a take on McCoy's alternate smock from the original series.
Okay, because I guess with the collar, that does make a certain amount of sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the collar on the TOS version is the same blue as the rest of the shirt, whereas on this one it's black. So my memory tells me they're slightly different colors.
They're the same color, they're different material, so like the smock is shinier, but they're still the same color.
Yeah. But I think that's what they're going for, right? This is as the Doctor, this is, you know, sort of an extra kind of thing that he can wear in addition to the regular kind of duty uniform. And maybe in a future episode we'll see him in the more traditional blue.
All right, and then my final curiosity here.
All right, I'm going to knock it down for you. Bring it on for me, Thad. Bring it on for
Ranks.
Okay.
Mbenga is a commander. Chapel is also wearing commander rank. Neither of these officers are commanders in TOS.
Yeah, I got nothing for that.
No, and she's a civilian too. So she spilled coffee on her uniform, so she just grabbed something that was nearby for one of the other nurses. There you go.
Do they specifically say that she's a civilian?
Yeah. And Mbenga says she's a civilian.
Yes.
Liaison.
Okay.
On loan from the Stanford Morehouse Project.
All right, but like, I mean, she's definitely wearing commander's rank. It's the two solid. So that's the confusing thing. Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
Spilled her coffee. I mean, we have a lot to question about Mbenga, like, because he's chief medical officer now, and then when he shows up in TOS, he's just one of McCoy's underdoctors. So we have some questions there.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's a story there, right? Like, there is a reason why.
I'm assuming they'll tell us.
He goes from being chief medical officer to not.
It's called
anymore.
Vanguard.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, but he wasn't a commander in Vanguard, so that happened before.
Is his rank ever given? I mean, it's been a while since I read Vanguard, but
I'm assuming he's not a commander in Vanguard.
Generally speaking, we did not. The doctors are referred to more by the fact that they are a doctor or a nurse with Chapel than they are by their rank. Even Next Gen, it only became relevant with Crusher when she was, you know, taking her rounds on the bridge, and Troy as well.
Right.
So you know, I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, and then the ranks don't matter as much in the medical. Yes, because as a doctor, they can order everyone around in medical capacity regardless.
Yeah.
But McCoy is a lieutenant commander in TOS. And he is the chief medical officer, which would stand to reason there would not be anyone of a higher rank serving under him.
I don't know about that.
Either he gets demoted, it's a mistake, or you'll just have to wait and see.
But also Chapel, because Chapel couldn't be a commander either. But yes.
No, she's not. I mean, she's not. She reaches commander rank by, like, Star Trek 4, which is after she's gotten her MD.
Yeah, she's still a lieutenant commander in motion picture, isn't she?
I guess the question is, on what basis did they decide who's the CMO? Is that on the basis of rank, or is that on the basis of skill or time as a practicing doctor or any number of other things?
If we look at modern military, which is not necessarily a perfect allegory, but the closest allegory we've got, the chief medical officer would be the doctor, like the senior doctor, and they would, when they're appointed as chief medical officer, they may not necessarily already have a highest rank, but they would then be given the commission for the highest rank in their department.
Okay.
Like, it would be that specific position would have a rank assigned to it.
That makes sense. Okay.
But this is Star Trek, not the U.S. Navy, so they can do things differently.
Yeah.
Heck, on Discovery, we'd never even meet the chief medical officer, so we're the chief engineer. So anyway, sorry. That was Thad's uniform nitpicking corner.
That's all right.
Now, they're all getting experimental gene therapy to turn into Kylians. And it might not work very well for Spock. Which, I'm sure that's not going to come up after this. I'm sure that's just a throwaway line. That's not going to matter.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
I like, all of this stuff is fun, right? Like, the sort of infiltrating the alien culture and it not going very well and like having to deal with that on the fly. Like, it's all very well set up with just that like element of sort of fun at the core of it. And yeah, and Henry Alonso Myers talked a little bit about this in an interview, that like some of the sort of tech stuff they have intentionally kind of upgraded to something that you would expect to be future tech from the tech we have now, rather than future tech from what we had in the 90s or the 60s. So they're talking here about genetic alteration rather than like cosmetics, which even in the Next Generation, like you have to go get fitted for your ears type thing, in unification, right? Like, they were not sort of physically changing the genetic structure of anybody. It was all like, plastic surgery style, or prosthetics. This, they sort of made the decision, no, we'd like to do something a bit more futuristic-y for today, which means, sort of actually changing someone's genetic structure. But it all works for me. It's fun. It feels authentic.
It's a very sci-fi thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Right, like, people are like, oh, well, why don't you just make it a funny hat rather than, like, changing it? It's like, I don't know, like, does that feel right anymore for the future?
In retrospect, they should have also given him a funny hat.
Yes, they probably should have given it. I mean, I think the smart bet with anything Spock-related going down to a planet is always give him a funny hat.
Yes.
Or a do-rag,
Yeah, right.
Now, we're going to get into the parallels between and the social commentary aspects of this. We do get the funny moment where we find out that fashion for Kylian men is scants, apparently.
I couldn't tell if that was a scant or if it was like shorts and long socks. Or a skirt and long socks. Either way, it's funny, but...
Yes. Yeah, I think it is a skirt and long socks, yes.
Even better.
But, yes. We get an interesting thing. We get the video screen showing what is supposed to be unrest on the planet. And I have to think that when they chose stock footage of protests in Ukraine for this, they were thinking, well, that's a generic enough flag that it can stand in for an alien culture. No one will... That's not something that people are going to notice. Not expecting that within the couple months between when they produced this episode and when the episode came out, that everyone in the world would know what the Ukrainian flag looked like.
But it makes it even better.
That was just like a...
It does.
Yeah.
It does work. It still works for the parallels and everything, and it still conceivably be an alien flag. It is a simple enough design that it's not inconceivable that other cultures would use that same design.
Sure.
I just find it amusing in a sort of dark way that in, the 4 months or so, or whatever it's been since they produced this episode to when it was released, that flag is now visible everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So, one thing I noticed about these the makeup of the way, the physical appearance of the Kylians. It's pretty much a standard Star Trek-y thing. Like, we just have we have a prosthetic on the forehead, which I will never get tired of of alien races with slightly different foreheads. That is...
Yeah, right.
Agreed.
It's a classic.
Agreed.
And we have the nice scene. I really like when La'an's like, permission to act fast.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually Spock takes the hint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fun, it's exciting, it's so good.
Yeah, so good.
I did like how the commentary on that. Well, I'm going to look like prey to a predator species. Make them immediately comfortable,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
The whole thing is very clearly strong social commentary for where we are in our world today.
Yep.
And I think, yeah, we're probably not ready for first contact with an alien species.
Surely not.
Ooh.
It's very well done, right? Like, I mean, the leader of the planet being like, talking about was it the person who has the biggest stick is in charge, and then the scene continues, and finally Pike's like, all right, I gotta lean into this, and orders the Enterprise into low Earth orbit, and they just sort of walk over to the window, and he goes, well, I guess the person with the big, I guess that would be me, right, in terms of like who has the biggest stick here in this room. And then he beams down into the middle of the conversation, and he's just like, hi, and then like Anson Mount's performance as Pike is great because it's sort of different from your other Starfleet captains that we've seen. He kind of has his own way of doing things. It's quite reserved and understated, which actually I think kind of channels Jeffrey Hunter's portrayal of Pike quite well, in the way that he was in certain periods in The Cage. And then kind of, I love, again, on the, making people angry, making me very happy, the whole thing about how, Strange New Worlds, we're going back to a white male lead, and it's episodic television, and hopefully that means they will sort of bury the politics behind it. And, in the pilot episode, they, you include footage from January 6th as part of you're on a dark path, right? And basically sort of saying that the US in the Star Trek timeline is on the pathway towards a second civil war of some kind. That is naked social commentary, and it's fabulous, and it's, and it lands well in the episode, and everybody on the ship sort of watching the footage that is associated with the speech and getting quite emotional themselves. I mean, it all works from there but for the grace of God go I perspective, but the scary thing for us is that you were saying this, we're not the Enterprise crew in this episode, right? We are the Kylians. They're the ones telling us we're about to make a bunch of nasty mistakes.
Yeah. It's hard to look at the state of the world today and not see something like that in our future, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't do a Chrissie's History Corner on it, but yeah.
It's a little bleak.
And it wasn't just that they used anything from January 6th. They used the gallows. I know they had the other with the recount and stuff, but the gallows has become, I mean, that is the picture for that. And it's that and the shaman guy and the guy with his feet up on Pelosi's desk, and you're not going to use either one of those. So iconic on top of the commentary. And no questioning what it is. It's not like you can say, well, that's just a protest, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yep, it's not trying to be subtle, which is fine. It's, we don't live in a subtle era anymore.
This has made me even more hopeful. I've been saying this since they announced it. They're never going to do it, I'm sure. But this has made me more hopeful that they will actually do what Let That Be Your Last Battlefield was supposed to be originally, which is portrait in black and white with the planet with the white slaves and the black owners. And they were told they couldn't do it. And I want to see that. I think that would be very good.
There is also footage from the New York Amazon union protest as well.
Nice. I didn't realize that.
This is probably not the one from when they had established the Union this year. There were protests before that.
Yeah, but still.
I like that in this we do also see a positive protest as well as a negative protest.
It's Rom up there, quoting from Marx.
Exactly. But the conflict started with a fight for freedoms. We called it the Second Civil War, then the Eugenics War, and finally just World War III. And, oh boy.
Yep.
Heavy. 600,000 species of animals and plants and 30% of the human population.
I thought that was very interesting how they put that together. That it wasn't how many humans died first. It was the impact on the whole. You know. And that was just, it's a very interesting way of presenting that. But I think it almost made the point better than just saying how many people died.
Yeah, and just watching the footage of the nuclear bombs going off in DC, Paris, and New York is just...
You know, as much as we are desensitized to that type of thing because of movies like Independence Day, it still is chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, totally.
I feel like in movies like Independence Day, it's not... It doesn't hit you as hard because you know that's sci-fi aliens attacking, not something that you can see happening. This is something that could happen today.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
And, yeah, it's... it has the sobering effect that it is supposed to have. And let us sincerely hope that it will help to prevent that from actually happening.
Yeah. So, did you guys think that... I wasn't clear at the end whether they had taken Pike up on his offer to join. Because it looked like they were studying Federation things, but then you also have that scene where it's almost like what you see at the beginning of I think it's Into Darkness, where they start worshipping the image of the ship. So I think it left it a little bit open, but maybe that's just me.
I think you're seeing two things happen. I think it's ambiguously left open because I think what they're trying to say is it's not just as simple as one guy making a speech, you know, that turns the whole culture around towards this new era of openness, right? What you're seeing is a juxtaposition of children in school classrooms learning about this from like a, hey, this is great, we should do this type thing, but then also the sort of military people clearly continuing to study the technology because they want to recreate it and make it themselves type thing, and you're watching both play out at the same time. And where will it end up? We don't know at the end of the episode, right? Like it could go in, but the Kylian's fate is still in their hands, and Pike has sort of introduced them to a bunch of new ideas, but has he fundamentally changed things for that planet? You know, I think we'll need for them to go back there in season 5 and find out.
But I mean, there's a logic to that, because imagine aliens show up tomorrow. You don't even have to do that. Look at how people have treated like alien abduction and all of that lore and mythology, for lack of a better term. I mean, there is a religious aspect to it for some people. So that actually makes perfect sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, no, it does. And now we are at Starbase 1, which is apparently now closer to Earth than it was in Discovery.
It's Jupiter Station!
It is Jupiter Station.
Well, in that it is a starbase that is very close to Jupiter.
And it's also
but it also looks a lot like the model of Starbase 1 that we saw in Discovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it is Starbase 1. They've just added the
But in Discovery, Starbase 1 was 100 AUs from Earth.
Yes. It's not that far away.
No.
I think it's still in the solar system, isn't it? Isn't that like Neptune or something?
Yes, but they moved it in a little closer.
Yeah. So they moved it in a little closer.
Yeah.
They made a warp bubble.
No, this is not a nitpick. This is a comment. I'm not saying it's impossible for them to have done this.
I'm keeping my eye on you, Thad.
They had to get it closer to the wormhole.
But we do get a gorgeous visual of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's a great model. It looks really good. The effects on this show are great. They really have, maxed out the effects budget for Strange
One
Worlds.
of my complaints throughout a lot of Discovery is that they have these great models and then they just sort of smear them and you barely see them. And
or like really quick shots, and you never spend any time with them. Yeah, I don't think
here
that's
on Strange New Worlds, we get very detailed shots of these spaceships and stations and everything, and I am here for it. I want more.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I am always down for spaceship porn. And here's where we find out that General Order 1 is the Federation Council is doubling down. They're going to call it the Prime Directive, and that'll never stick.
It'll never stick.
I liked that, especially because it kind of bugged me that they kept calling it General Order 1 on Discovery. Like, I'm like, I know that it is General Order 1, but they never called it that. So, like, before Discovery, I mean.
Right.
So I like that we get that little bit of an explanation.
Yeah.
And Pike is going to stay in command, and
we're off to explore.
we are going to explore Strange New Worlds. And I can't wait to explore some more.
Oh, yes.
Just everything about this episode is fantastic. I realize I complained about a bunch of things because I always will. But I loved it. I loved it. This is probably... It is possible I loved this more than any other Star Trek I have seen this year. That's hard because I loved the finale of Discovery this season. So we'll see. This is fantastic. I am fully expecting to be in love with this show from start to finish. Give me more Strange New Worlds, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the nice thing is there are 9 more episodes. There are 19 more episodes to come.
That's true.
9 over the next 9 weeks, and then another 10 at some point next year.
Hallelujah.
Oh, yes.
And I'm also glad that we're not having 2 episodes in a row for weeks on end.
Yes.
Because as enjoyable
thank
as it is
God.
to talk to you guys for this.
Well, we did it for 3 weeks in a row
And that was enough.
with Discovery and Picard, and that was
enough.
that was something.
Yeah. Hopefully you won't have to do that again.
So, canon connections, like the whole show.
I think the only one, probably the big one here worth mentioning that we didn't talk about before is Sam Kirk, right? Who shows up at the very end, right? They
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's
they
right.
do the, obviously an intentional misdirect of, Lieutenant Kirk at the start of the episode, and then boom, it's not Paul Wesley in a moustache, but
It should have been.
it's still a Paul Wesley lookalike in a moustache. Pops out on the bridge, and yeah, we got Sam Kirk in Strange New Worlds.
Yes. And that's great. I love that. And we had the shuttlecraft Stamets, which I liked the look that Pike gives when the pilot says shuttle Stamets. Pike looks up like, I like that. Obviously, we had the Saurian brandy that Pike and Spock drank, even if it wasn't in a Dickel's whiskey bottle. And those are the other ones that I noticed that we hadn't mentioned before. I'm sure there were plenty of other things. I did really like the Day of the Earth Stood Still, directed by Robert Wise. That was a
Sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
nice
fun.
little thing. So next time, Pike's going to be watching the director's cut of Star Trek: The Motion Picture when he's making breakfast, right?
If that happens, then that just confirms that Star Trek is a show within Star Trek. It's the equivalent of watching MASH or JAG or any number of other...
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I mean, we've got the Beast. We know the Beastie Boys exist in Star Trek.
Yes, they do.
And the Beastie Boys have mentioned Star Trek in their songs. So, do we have any other final thoughts before we want to wrap this up?
Loved it. Can't wait
Same.
for more.
Bring it on.
Yeah, same. All right. Alex, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion again.
Of course.
Where can listeners find you online? What are you working on that you might want to talk about?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Alexander T. Perry. You can also find my weekly news show, Star Trek news show, Weekly Trek at Weekly Trek. Also available on all the same podcast platforms that you can get this show on. And I also do reviews, interviews, all kinds of stuff for TrekCore.com, so you can find my written work over there at the same time.
Great. All right, Chrissy, where can people find you when you are not tracking down an alien that's running through the halls of the Enterprise?
Oh, that would be fun. I would be the alien running around. Right. Well, in addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Zaluggies here on the BQN Network, and that's a twice-weekly history short podcast I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. I'm also happy to chat about all of our shows in the BQN Collective on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at The Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics, and the intersections between Star Trek history and leftist politics.
Quite a few of them.
Yes. All right, Thad, where can people find you when you're not making breakfast while watching old movies?
Best place to find me is on Twitter. I'm at Tyrannicus, that's Tyranicus. And you can also find me on the other podcast I do with my friend Carl called License to Spiel. That's License with a C, where we talk about the James Bond films. All right. Don't forget about the other great shows that you can also listen to here on BQN. Like, if you want more Star Trek in your life, and who doesn't, you can listen to Galaxy Class about Star Trek The Next Generation. All good things about all of the old Star Trek. And then there's also the aforementioned History with the Zaluggies, and Union Federation about Star Trek and the Orville, and Mickey's Marvels about all things Disney.
Thank you so very much for tuning into Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music, and to Tony Robinson for the great show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
If you want to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcasts, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. On the next episode, we'll be talking about the next episode of Strange New Worlds, Children of the Comet. Until then, peace and long life.
Previously on BQN, Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast.
People may know him best as playing Uncle Phil on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But
The new one, surely.
Yeah, because there is a new Fresh Prince out.
Yeah.
yes, the new one. Yeah, he's not old enough to have played the old one. So people may not know him best unless you've seen the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I am just now finding out there was a new Fresh
And I haven't watched it.
I'm
You
just
need to
reading
be
this article
careful
that
because
says
Will
this.
Smith will just come in and slap your head off.
Oh boy.
I think just not seeing it is okay.
we
We're not
went there.
making any
Okay.
negative comments about it.
Galaxy Class, a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast.
Okay, we've agreed to keep it deleted and resign it to the infinite depths of nothingness, where all our deleted scenes go.
No, the infinite depths of where, like, all of the bad guys fall in engineering near the warp core. It's always, the bottomless pit. So annoying.
Oh yeah, like there's 100 decks
Yeah.
to fall through, yeah, because
Yeah.
warp cores are infinite.
All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast.
It must have been fun for you too, because there's mathematics involved.
Yeah, I was in high school, so I wasn't as smart as I am now.
You
I
weren't
was
as-
just like, let's do this. I had fun painting.
You weren't all about the math from like kindergarten.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
You will find these and more of your favorite podcasts on BQN.